A little background on myself for some of those that may not have followed me very long. Um, there's another video here on YouTube that takes some videos out of my Instagram days before I got suspended, and it's entitled something like "The Most Psychotic Man on Instagram" or something like that, and it's a pretty heavy judgment to hand out, but I understand why they did it at the same time. I don't judge them for it or hold them in any harsh way. I actually thank them in the comments for posting it because it gives people a connection to what was taken away from me. Um, but to understand what's going on with me, understand that I'm carrying basically walking with a broken heart. It's not psychosis. What happened back in 2021 is I had a mental breakdown due to all the weight I was carrying, all the expectations and judgment and I snapped. I found myself sobbing driving down the middle of the highway and ended up at a cliff, um, questioning life. I found my way away from that and came home healed and find another path and I snapped. Um, I paced back and forth for 4 days, swearing. Didn't sleep. I slept 1 to 2 hours, and then I wake up and my mouth would just start swearing. I was like, "What is happening?" Like it was my brain was like, "Dude, you gotta stop this." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I don't understand what's happening," and so I ended up getting tied in with an autism counselor, and because I had a lot of closed in behavior back then. I had my whole life because I grew up with a broken heart. My parents got divorced when I was 3. My dad basically turned his back on our relationship and walked away. I said I could be part of his new family, and so anyway, I was diagnosed as autistic back in 2021. Um, and then my wife divorced me and told me I needed to move, and I just let go because I needed to make sure that my kid had a home. So um, I moved down to San Luis Obispo, and I tried to engage with people there, but all my old friends that I ran into just didn't have really the time of day for me. I'd see them in their times of life, and they would show some passing interest, but when it came to coming to meet me on my terms, there was nothing. Nobody showed up. Um, and even then, at that point, my family just had never really showed up. They only came to check on me and make sure I was okay, but they didn't like live normal life with me anymore. And I had come up at that point with like this program that was like a concert program to that's like free program that people participate in to on weekly concerts down in Mission Square to raise money for the homeless and start a food truck called the Creation Kitchen. It was based in creation based food because I was really working on my diet to to walk out of autism. So um, and what happened in that is because I didn't receive any engagement, and I didn't, I had no function of going and getting a new job and standing behind a counter and taking money for people and selling them products. I couldn't operate in that anymore, and I couldn't do taxes and that kind of stuff. I was done. I was broken. So what happens? I ran out of money, and then so I tested the city of San Luis to see how they treat their people with no money, and they what they do is they don't send social services. They send the sheriff to throw you out on into a mental institution because I told them I was community. I was talking with God, and they said you can't talk with God. That's not appropriate. You're crazy. So they put me in a mental institution. It's like, wow, you can't have a connection with God here. So my mom picked me up out of that, brought me up here, and thank God for my mom. She stands with me. I'm blessed having her in my life, and my stepdad that tolerates me. Um, but he loves me in his own way, I know. Uh, but so I've been here, and it's the same thing. Nobody shows up. Nobody engages with me because I don't have the iPhone, and I don't have the schedule, and I don't have the way that they can get me in their life and make me do their thing. They have to come and spend time with me on my terms, and they can't handle it because they say I'm too heavy or they don't agree with me or whatever it is. but they refuse to acknowledge that I'm like releasing my Adam's apple, and my belly button is going away. Like I'm releasing my belly button. And you know who doesn't have belly buttons? They're called angels. Angels don't have belly buttons. At this point, it's been a 3 years going on 4 that everybody refuses to acknowledge me as a person, that my needs are important, and that it's not all about them. And I know it's not all about me either. I'm here to share with people in their lives, but I don't do the things that everyone else does with the cars and the phones and the trips and the schedules and the money and the paying for going to concerts and all this kind of, I don't do that stuff anymore because I don't have the function for it. I don't have the mind for it anymore. It's toxic to me, and it's painful to live in it. But nobody will come and just hang out and talk about the things that are right here in this world. Take walks, eat fruit, live life my way. My dad says he doesn't know how to be my dad. And I said, well, you spend time with me. He said, yeah, I know, I have to leave. I was like, oh, yeah, exactly, Dad, have a good time. But he hasn't known how to spend time with me his whole life. It's always been about me meeting him in his place. And that's what everyone's doing to me here. So all my friends, all my family, all the people that I've known, I haven't seen them in years, even though we live in the same town. I haven't moved. I live in the same place. My own kid refuses to see me. It's been a couple of years since I've seen them, and they live very close by. So I'm basically heartbroken here. I am heartbroken. I'm that everybody's decided that my life does not matter because I don't fit in their iPhone anymore. And so the person that called me psychotic, what you're seeing in those videos is somebody who's processing heartbreak. And it's not easy having everybody in your family deny you and walking through that with love and non-judgment. Because I understand why everybody's doing it. I understand exactly why everyone's doing this, because of what they consume. And we're all living in a death market here, in the consumption of pigs and cows and chickens and fish and all these things. They break you, and they make it so you don't see each other with love anymore. You see each other as a process of what you can get from them to rebalance yourself, right? So I mean, I show up for other people's stuff. I played in my friend's band for years, but does he show up? No. I showed up for him. Does he show up for me? No, right? I show up for all my work stuff. I was there every day for 15 years, barely dropped a day. I didn't even call in sick. I didn't take vacations. I worked 50-hour weeks. Do they show up for me? No. Did I show up for them? Yeah, I made them millions of dollars, right? My family, I used to show up for holidays, even though I don't celebrate holidays. And I finally said, no, I'm not showing up for holidays anymore. And we got 364 other days a year to get together. Can we try one of the ones that doesn't have a holiday marker on it? No, they refuse. Will my family acknowledge that you can just spend a day eating fruit? No, they refuse, right? My mom, even, when I tell her things, she listens, but she doesn't believe a word I say. She said that to me, I just don't believe what you say. And I was like, well, I'm releasing my Adam's apple, and you've released my spine with your own hand, and my belly button's going away, and like, I don't understand what you mean. And everybody's denying me like I don't matter. And you acknowledge that how painful that is, that nobody even comes to this house anymore. Nobody, no, all the life that was in this house, nobody has showed up in this house since I've been here. This used to be family would come by and family would spend time here. No longer, because I'm here. And people can't handle what I'm handing them, is that this consumer market that's been fed to us is feeding us violence that destroys us. They can't handle that. They can't handle that concept. So, and that's because they're participating in it. And they eat the wheat, and they drink the wine, and they eat and just like they're served in communion, and they say, oh, that's all right. And you're like, no, it's not okay. That was not in the garden, in the creation story. Those are not things that were, and that's what the Bible is about. The Bible is about the fall from the garden in the creation story and the fall of man until the revelations at the end. And or however, the Torah and the Judaic Bible work differently, and they don't acknowledge that New Testament, and I understand that as well. I understand how all these things work. But I acknowledge all of them, because they're all functions of God speaking through us in this world, trying to bring us to a function of unity through nonviolence. But nobody can handle that. Everybody wants to embrace the violence, and it's just absolutely destroying our society. It's destroying our families, our communities. It's allowing everybody to think that embracing cars and rocket ships is actually something that's good for them when it destroys their environment. Everything's paved with asphalt. All the places that all our trees grow and all the fruit grow and all the places we used to walk and be able to walk without shoes on are now barbed wire fences and paved environments with cars driving by you 60, 70 miles an hour. I go downtown here in Templeton, walk around, it's just cars. Zoom, zoom, people wave to me from their cars. You know, I acknowledge somebody. Sometimes there are people on the street walking by, and some are really nice and some refuse to talk to me, and they're afraid of me, like I'm going to chase them down and do something. I'm like, I'm just taking a walk, people. Why are you afraid of me? This is a really bizarre world, and it's because we're all broken from what we consume. So what I'm doing here is I'm processing through a broken heart and trying to find, walking to the place, not trying, I'm walking actively to the place of how to exist in that without judgment, and how to love people, even though they refuse to acknowledge my presence. And it's extremely painful to have everybody in your life turn their back on you and deny you exist, and that what you say is important, and and deny the healing that you're experiencing, because they're not doing it themselves. You're not doing it their way. They want to name the muscles you're touching. I'm like, I don't need any of that. I don't need to name the muscles. They're inside my body, and I touch them and they release, and then that's it. I don't need to know their names, right? That's somebody else that named that so they could have some moment of fame, and then you can go sit in a textbook and read it and say, oh, this is this muscle, and then they can get paid again, right? There's just people getting paid off this stupid knowledge that's completely worthless, because it's your own body. You don't need to know it. And when you stop consuming death, you don't have to go to the doctor who's going to cut you up and use you for their rent, right? We're living in a death market, and heartbreak is real, and it's painful to process. So